Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mio on MMA podcast, recapping UFC Houston and predicting UFC Mexico City. Not going to say a lot about UFC Houston because it's like way too late to do a proper recap. If you haven't watched every fight that you wanted to see like 2 times by now, I don't know what you're doing. We'll talk about the highlights real quick here. Sean Strickland beating Anthony Hernandez in the 3rd round of the main event. Good performance for Strickland. Got the job done. Got a finish against a really, really tough dude. Really kind of shut down what he was trying to do because there weren't like takedowns coming. There were some things. There was some pressure. There was some success for Hernandez. It was about the most competitive striking fight Hernandez has had in some time. But at the end of the day, Strickland was able to do Strickland things, soften him up to the body, and eventually get the finish. So that was pretty cool. Uros Medic got the biggest knockout of his career against Jeff Neal. I don't know if that means Neal is done. I don't know if that... Well, I'm pretty sure Uros has fixed absolutely nothing. He's probably still a glass cannon, but it's there. Melchior Costa got a knockout of Dan Ige. So those 3 fights at the end, those were dope. 1st round stoppages in the 2nd and 3rd one, and a 3rd round stoppage in the main event. Before that, not amazing, not great. Sergey Spivak versus Ante Delija was a fine heavyweight fight, but it went the distance, and that's never particularly good in heavyweight fighting. Jacoby Smith versus Josiah Harrell was sloppy, pointed out the flaws in both guys a lot. Harrell went for an ill-advised takedown, got reversed, got put on the ground, and then Smith pounded him out, got the job done. Michel Pereira versus Zach Reese was a fight that I missed the 1st round of, so I honestly can't really say. And what I saw in the 2nd and 3rd round made me not really want to go back and watch the 1st round. That being said, who knows? Maybe it was really, really good. Basically, both guys were tired and not really getting things done. Split decision for Pereira is fine, but whatever. Carlos Leal versus Chidi Njokuani. That was a better fight than I thought. Leal kept the pressure on him kind of throughout. Worked at a high pace, worked at a high volume, ate the best shots Chidi had to throw. Aside from a rather dull 2nd round, the 1st and 3rd round of this fight are dope. They are fire. Go check it out. Carlos Leal gets the win. Libby Idris beats Ode Osborne by unanimous decision. It's a fine fight. I don't really have much else to say about it. Alden Correa versus Luis Garule. Correa winning by decision. Probably should have got a finish if he stepped on the gas and went for it. It was the fight I think everyone probably thought that Correa was going to outwork Garule and Garule was going to have a hard time getting into it. Jocelyn Edwards and Nora Cornole was looking exactly like the first fight. And then in the 2nd round, Edwards slams Cornole to the ground and does something to the shoulder separation, dislocation, something along those lines. Broken collarbone, I guess maybe even on the table. I've not looked up actually what the injury ended up being. But like so bad that Cornole was screaming in pain in the cage and like couldn't be moved for a while and whatever. Anyways, it ended up as a rear naked choke win for Edwards because the referee didn't stop the fight when he probably just should have. So this probably should have been a TKO injury stoppage. Rear naked choke for Edwards instead. Really just a fundamental for the record book differential. Punahele Soriano beat Raimis Brahima. It was fine. John Paul Lebosniani defeated Phil Rowe. It was fine. Jordan Leavitt and Yair Duval had a pretty boring fight. And Carly Giudice and Juliana Miller were fine. That was by decision. So the card opening up with 1, 2, 3, 4 decisions. And by the time we hit the main card, we had gone to decision in 8 out of 9 fights. Then we got some finishes on the main card. So the main card did deliver quite a bit outside the heavyweight fight. But it was pretty weak on the undercard. I guess at the end of the day, the fights that were going to delivered something. We did learn some things, although not a lot of things about some fighters. Jacoby Smith, maybe has fixed some things. Like he didn't gas out like he did against Nico Price. Didn't look as tired. But at the same time, he also only took 3 minutes to finish Josiah Harrell. So who knows? And then otherwise, learned nothing about Medic. Didn't really learn anything about Sean Strickland. Like as much as I picked against him here against Anthony Hernandez, I think the problem is just that Hernandez presents a style of fight that no one's really going to bring to Sean Strickland. So it doesn't really matter. Like there's not anything applicable to like his future events because he's, he is in title contention. You could give him a title shot and it would not look out of place straight up. But who else at the top part? Well, I guess there is some of Chimaev. But the thing is that Hernandez was trying to pressure him with boxing. Chimaev is going to insist in wrestling with him if they indeed do that fight. It's not the fight I would do, but I mean, the UFC is still in the Strickland business, and let's be honest, there's not really a must-have title contender, because if you look at I'm looking at just the Tapology rankings here. It's Chimaev, Duplessis, who I do not want to see DDP fight Chimaev again. Strickland. Imavov is the guy that I would go with, but like Strickland does have a win over Imavov. So what are you going to do? And then it's down to Allen, Hernandez, Eliezer Adesanya. These are not options. But I would do Imavov, but I would get why they would do Sean Strickland instead. Anyways, on to UFC Mexico City, fighting at altitude. So obviously we got to talk about guys who have bad cardio, are going to be stressed even further. That particularly applies to the main event. But really what this fight card has going against it is the fact that the odds are very, very, very wide. As a general rule, I consider anything over minus 200 favorites to be significantly favorable. We'll go with that. And using that logic, only the fights between Ernesta Caracate and Regina Terran, and the fight between Eileen Perez and Macy Chiasson. So basically the two women fights are actually what you would call betting-wise competitive. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't betting to be had across the rest of the card. It doesn't mean that there aren't some interesting fights, but the betting public is telling you very much that this is a setup card for showcases, and hopefully that will be fun. Because that can be fun, but it's rarely interesting. So I'll probably blitz through these the predictions here pretty quickly, because I think they're very, very kind of obvious looking fights. So main event, Brandon Moreno versus Lonnie Kavanaugh. I said that the cardio is a big thing here because Kavanaugh in his last fight against Charles Johnson just kind of got tired by what was not even super high pace. It was the fact that he couldn't at any point rest or relax or anything. And that seemed to be something that he was not capable of doing. And it led to Charles Johnson knocking him out in a fight that he had previously been winning. So he comes in here against Brandon Moreno on short notice at altitude. You can't pick him. Would I be shocked and appalled if he won? Absolutely not. He's got an amazing physical skill set. He's pretty well-rounded. He is a very talented fighter who just needs cage time and getting better and better and better. And maybe he turns the Joshua Van performance here of losing to Charles Johnson into this big learning event, and he starts picking things up. But the problem I thought was that Van, when he lost to Johnson, it felt more random, for lack of a better word. I'm trying to think of a better word, but random than terminal in style problems. Whereas with Kavanaugh, it felt, at least at the moment, terminal. Now, he's a 26-year-old kid. He can obviously get better, improve, step it up. I have faith that we have not seen the best of Lodi Kavanaugh. It's just that I don't think that this fight, relatively soon after that one, on short notice, at altitude, is the answer. Because keep in mind, he lost back in August. So that's not a tremendously short time ago. That's 6 months. But I very much doubt that he's really fixed the problems yet. Like I'm hoping he's starting to. I'm hoping he's starting to figure out what he needs to do in terms of comfort against fighters who can compete with him. But it seems unlikely that it would be there now. And as a result, I haven't picked Moreno. Moreno's not looked great in his last couple of fights. Notably, he lost to Tetsuya Taira. He did not look great against Steve Erceg. He did look good against Amir Albazi, but it's Amir Albazi, so what are you going to do with that? And then, of course, the losses to Brendan Royval and to Pantoja. So it's been a while since we've seen Moreno at the top of his game. You basically have to go back to his title run. And I guess you could consider the Pantoja fight to be that case. I thought he fought well against Pantoja. He just lost. But, the last 2 years, not been amazing. But he is a guy who has a volume striking game that he can utilize. He has good cardio. He can take the Charles Johnson game plan of just don't let this kid disengage or feel comfortable or at any point be able to pace himself and weaponize that. He's also still fairly durable. He is tall. He is longer. He's 3 inches taller, 3 inches longer than Kavanaugh. There's a lot to work with here that could theoretically work. He's a good grappler, a good scrambler, a pretty good wrestler, actually. He started his career being a pretty bad defensive wrestler, and it's gotten better over time. Obviously, it's still something that can be weaponized against him, but it's not something I suspect Kavanaugh will have routine success. And also, again, high altitude, 5 rounds. I have to go with Moreno. I'm picking him by TKO, probably in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round. I know that that's a broad spectrum. I'm just saying is that I think that Kavanaugh will run into some of the same problems he ran into against Johnson, get a little tired. And Moreno is not a huge hitter, not a big puncher, not a fantastic finisher by any means. I think even on the regional scene, he was like traditionally not a knockout guy. Yeah, let's see here. Where is knockouts? Yeah, there's one in 2013. There's one in 2019, right after our grappling run, actually. Right after his Ultimate Fighter run too, as well. And a shoulder injury against Brandon Royval. Liver kick for Kai Kara-France, eye injury against Figueiredo. So it's not traditionally how he wins the fights, but you know what? Actually, I've convinced myself. I think probably more likely to see like kind of a club and sub situation here, where he gets him on the ground, puts the rear naked choke on him while he's gassed out. I have rethought my pick live here, and you guys got to see it. But yeah, Moreno's the pick. He is the minus 225 to minus 240 favorite. That could be wider. Plus 172 to plus 188 on Kavanaugh. Marlon Vera versus David Martinez. I long ago made peace with the fact that I'm not going to pick Marlon Vera. If he wins, sure, fine, whatever. I'll deal with it. He'll bonk someone and put them down. And there is nothing that says that he can't bonk David Martinez. Martinez has not fought a legion of big hitters. There are a few guys who hit as hard, or if it's not the hardness, then the application of the timing, the accuracy, and the power of Vera is pretty unique. But Marlon Vera has no footwork, really. He has no way to force exchanges on his terms. He is very, 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 very vulnerable to just being outworked, out-footworked. Martinez has footwork. He has volume. He has pace. He's in good shape. He looked really good against Rob Font. Really took a step forward against Rob Font that I didn't think he was ready for, actually, because I picked Font. But having seen that and just the general problem with picking Vera, I am going to go with him here. I will say the odds are too wide because they have it at plus 210 to plus 260 on Vera and minus 275 to minus 330 on Martinez. There is value at betting on Vera there. Also, I didn't do the betting thing where I say, I'm going to tell you things that you could use to bet. I'm going to tell you about my betting. I'm not anti-betting, but do not bet the house. This is a very much bet responsible activity because MMA, more than any other sport probably in the world, is incredibly volatile. You can be winning 14 minutes and 50 seconds of a fight and lose. It's part of why we love it. But it is part of why it is not a good idea to bet a lot of money on. Moving on, Daniel Zellhuber versus King Green. I can't pick a 39-year-old King Green. I can't do it. Michael Johnson, though, just did beat this kid. Daniel Zellhuber, the frustration for me is that he is tall. He's 6'1", 77 inches. For a lightweight, that's huge. He is got the physical tools you would want. He's reasonably fast, reasonably quick, reasonably explosive, reasonably powerful. He's huge. He seems to have good cardio. He seems to like to fight. It doesn't seem like he has a problem of heart, of scrap, or of brawliness to him necessarily. Even though Esteban Ribovic did outbrawl him. Ribovic is, however, I think built for the brawl. His problem, though, is that, goddamn, is he just a bad fight IQ, bad fight adapter. The kid, if you defuse his jab, doesn't seem to have any idea of how to adapt and do things. Unless you just give him takedowns. That seems to be his, response is okay, well, I can't box with you, so let me just take... And it's caused him to lose to Trey Ogden, for God's sakes, in a predominantly boxing match. That's horrifying. But I do have to pick him here just because I think Bobby Green, at 39 years old, with a style that ages poorly and relies on speed and looks like he's a little nervous, a little gun shy, a little bit reevaluating what he's doing in there, and it's too late for that, and all that jam. I have to pick Zellhuber. I have to pick him here. I'm going to pick him by decision, but my God, is he a way too high of a favorite at minus 500 to minus 520. Plus 350 to plus 380 on Bobby King Green. Guys, Zellhuber lost to Michael Johnson who is an old man based on speed. He lost to Trey Ogden, who is a neutralizing boxer. He lost to Esteban Ribovic in a brawl. His best win is Francisco Prado or Lando Venata. Take your pick. This guy should not be in the UFC at a minus 500 favorite against anybody. What are you doing? Anyways, Edgar Chairez, Felipe Bunez. Gotta go with Chairez by decision. Could get a finish. Chairez is a bit of a risky finisher. He'll go for things, but Bunez has been durable. The problem just is that Bunez at 36 years old is just not athletic enough, and also does not have a typical style of a UFC flyweight. He has serious issues with wrestling, which admittedly not a huge problem against Chairez, but he has problems with pace. He has problems with adaptability. He's a sharp, clean striker. Don't get me wrong. Like the technique is nice, but it's not fast enough. It's not powerful enough. It's not snappy enough. It's not anything. And there's a reason that the guys he has beaten, including his only UFC win against Jose Johnson, are just not very good fighters and have a lot of losses. Like, I want you to realize something here, that outside of Yanni Sherbatov back in 2018, this guy has beaten people with like losses that are nearing double digits. 8 losses, 9 losses, 5 losses, 9 losses again. And obviously the number of losses don't really necessarily mean much. We got to look at who they're against and whatever. But when you do that, it still doesn't look good. And he may have been the first guy to beat Yanni Sherbatov, and I'm a big fan of Yanni Sherbatov, but there's a reason that Yanni Sherbatov went on to lose to Malcolm Gordon and beat a kind of bum, and previously lost to Eric Shelton on the Ultimate Fighter. He's he doesn't have the physical talent either, is what I'm getting at. And as a result, I am going to pick Chairez, despite the fact that he is incredibly messy, and I really did think he would kind of flame out in the UFC. But 5'7", 71-inch reach, and a aggressive style that's very opportunistic as a grappler and as a striker. It's worked out. He does things where he is unpredictable. I think even to himself. But he weaponizes that. So that does work. Anyways, betting odds on this one, Chairez is a minus 330 to minus 350 favorite. Probably a bit wider than I would like to have it. And plus 240 to plus 275. Plus 240 to plus 275 on Felipe Bunez. Kevin Borjas is kind of almost exactly like Felipe Bunez in the sense that there is a very nice striking form to him. There is some good technical stuff, but it is backed up by just not being a good enough athlete. He is a hard-capped action fighter on a prelim or a gatekeeper, and that's kind of exactly like Bunez, and he's fighting Imanol Rodriguez. Rodriguez is raw. I'm going to be saying this a lot because there's a lot of people who fit this mold. They have obvious physical potential. They have the power. They have the speed. They have the explosiveness. They have the raw tools to be a really, really good fighter, but they're just very, very raw, very defensively open, not necessarily complicated in how they approach things, but I just see Rodriguez having the firepower to just outgun Borjas and knock him out. That's just all it is to it. The betting odds are with me on that one, minus 450 to minus 480, plus 250 to plus 275. Probably a little bit too wide for me to actually play with, but also not tempted to bet on Borjas' underdog odds. I do feel good about Imanol Rodriguez. There's work to be done, but I think he's connected to the right coaching, the right environment, the right learning tree that is probably actually going to happen. Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco. Angel Pacheco is almost kind of like Bunez and kind of like Borjas again. Although there is a difference here. Pacheco, I think, actually weaponizes volume to a reasonable degree, and it's why I feel probably like better about him than I do about the other two. He isn't designing his game on any physical gifts, and as a result, the fact that he doesn't really have them and instead relies on this kind of dogged boxing game means that I have a lot more faith in him. And you'd be like, hey, he's going to pick him. He's going to pick the... No, I am not. Santiago Luna has problems. He's 21 years old. Everything I said about Rodriguez is applicable. And in fact, without some of the good things, I don't think he has necessarily the right coaching, the right environment, the right pathway. I don't trust the people handling him nearly as much as I trust the people handling Rodriguez. But he is powerful. He is explosive. He is pathologically aggressive. He is a good wrestler, actually, all things considered. He is a persistent wrestler, and Pacheco is a bad defensive wrestler, and again, just not a good athlete. So Luna by decision. Luna is again a prohibitive favorite, minus 590 to minus 650, plus 400 to plus 460 on Pacheco. I will put a small bet on Pacheco. Like, my problem is that, like, even probably more so than Borjas and Bunes, because at least Borjas and Bunes are like, have like a little bit of like pop off the back foot, off the counter. Pacheco really does not. Like, even his regional scene fights have a lot of going the distance, a lot of not actually getting the guy hurt. I mean, he's only got actually one. He actually all his wins are by stoppage. Why am I thinking he's more of a decision guy? I think it's because there's like just nothing he could do to help hurt Colin Lochran, who I do not have a high opinion of, and there was nothing he could do to hurt Danny Silva, who I do have a reasonably high opinion of, and then like even Nate Williams at the same time. Maybe it's just the fact that he keeps going the distance, but I don't know. There are some first round stoppages for him, but they're over very bad fighters. Jacques Schroeder twice, who was 9-13 and 9-14 when he fought him respectively. A first round rear naked choke against a 12-8 Damon Hill. And the other finishes are against guys who are 5-2, 1-0, 2-1, and 0-1. So that does kind of speak for itself. So Luna getting the job done. Pacheco's tough. He's durable. He's hard to finish. I see it going the distance. I'm looking forward to this fight as something to learn on. That is kind of why I like I do, as much as I'm not interested in them from a analytical standpoint. I do like all three of those. Well, not so much Shirez Bunes. That's fine. Don't get me wrong, but I like Rodriguez against Borja. I like Luna against Pacheco. It's a chance to see these two young prospects go in there with a guy who does not have the athletic tools, but they have a little bit of guile. They have a little bit of like they are actually good technicians, and see what they can do against them. Jose Medina versus Ryan Gandra. Jose Medina will never be my pick. There you go. He's got heart. He's got determination. I respect the hell out of that. But he's maybe the first MMA fighter in the UFC that I went at and went like, I don't think I could beat this guy, but I think I could have me in my prime could actually maybe have had a competitive fight. And that's not me bragging about myself. That is a downgrade. That is a dismissal. of Daniel Medina, but I respect him for trying. I just don't have anything to. I don't have any reason to like it. Ryan Gandra, repeat what I just put it on repeat. Has all the physical tools, has the raw athleticism, has the size, blah blah blah. Not trusting of his like technical ability, fight IQ, game planning, or anything like that. It's just Jose Medina does not present a challenge in any real shape or form, and that's why the betting odds are minus 649 to minus 700 on Gandra and plus 450 to plus 480 on Medina. There do be a reason for that, and Gandra by TKO is the pick. Macy Chiasson versus Eileen Perez. I'll be cheering for Chiasson here because Perez annoys me, and Chiasson seems like a cool person. But I have a hard time picturing what her actually winning looks like. So heart is in the Chiasson corner, but the brain is like, what does that even look like? Because her wins tend to be one of two varieties. People who are stuck striking with her at a range that they can't handle because she's 5'11". Her reach is not especially long. 72 inches is not particularly long, but 5'11" is a massively tall fighter for women's 135. I think possibly the tallest in the UFC. I think there may be another 5'11" one. Thinking about Alice Pereira. She's pretty damn tall. They get stuck fighting in a range that they're just not comfortable with, or she takes them down and she out-scrambles them. And Perez, I don't suspect, will be content to stay at range that she's not comfortable at. She will come forward. She's used to being the shorter fighter. She's 5'5", and she's a tank. She rolls in there with takedowns that are not very technical, not very pretty looking, but gets the job done, gets them down, and she's really, really hard to control, really, really hard to get anything going on the ground. It's not impossible. Stephanie Egger rear naked choked her, so Chasen could do that, but no, I think she's become notably better. Like I want to downplay Perez, but I do think she is actually getting better. It's just the social media presence is it's a bit much. But Perez by decision, she is the favorite, minus 184 to minus 188, plus 148 to plus 155. Closest fight that we have been talking about so far. Chris Moutinho versus Christian Quiñonez. Chris Moutinho is very much in the category of Angel Pacheco, Felipe Bunes, Kevin Borja, but even more towards the Daniel Medina side of things not Daniel Medina, Jose Medina. Why do I keep saying Daniel Medina? Why is that popping in my head? Who is Daniel Medina? There has got to be a Daniel Medina somewhere. Is it Jose Daniel Medina? Is that what's screwing me up here? It is Jose Daniel Medina. Okay, so at least it's the middle name that's screwing me up and not me thinking of some entirely different Latino MMA fighter, which has happened before with various Russian fighters as well. But Quiñonez by TKO, I don't like this fight because Quiñonez is not a prospect. He's a 29-year-old, 5'8", bantamweight. He's fine, don't get me wrong. Keep him on the roster, put him in action fights, give him fun stuff to do. But if you're going to bring Quiñonez out here, it should be to showcase somebody. So I don't think that's Quiñonez in a nutshell. I mean, he will do that. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's going to go out there and he's going to probably going to just absolutely slap Moutinho around because Moutinho, he's not a bad grappler. He's not a bad striker. He just has no physical talent backing it up. And outside of Sean O'Malley, everyone puts him away really quickly. So that is that. Quiñonez is a prohibitive favorite at minus 620 to minus 700, though. But plus 430 to plus 500 on Moutinho. Then we have Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes. I feel incredibly nervous picking a 40-year-old Douglas Silva de Andrade. But there are two things I can't overlook here. One, I don't think Javier Reyes is very good. I think Javier Reyes has to be a better athlete than the guy he's fighting against. He has to be able to go out there and bully him, manhandle him, and do his thing. And you're not going to do that to Douglas Silva de Andrade. And I was watching Douglas Silva de Andrade's losses recently, and you know what? He's still physically strong. He still hits hard. He's a little slower, but I don't think that was ever that important. Also, Reyes is not very durable either. So, Silva de Andrade by TKO. I am confused why Douglas Silva de Andrade is a plus 175 to plus 190 underdog. Javier Reyes plus 225 to plus 240. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I don't see it. But this is, I want to say, the only underdog on the card that I am picking. Yeah, I am correct. Ernesta Caracate versus Regina Terran. I wish this fight happened on a full training camp. It's a late notice replacement fight, because this was supposed to be Montenegro versus Caracate. And Terrence coming in here, she is a legit good fighter. 5'7", 66-inch reach at 125. She's 21 years old. She has a ton to learn. She is... I don't want to say that she's a can't miss future champion, but if she were to become the champion of the UFC, it would not shock me. She's got good hands. She's got creativity. She's got, for the weight class, a solid amount of pop in those hands. She's got good cardio, in theory. I say in theory because, she went to the fourth round once. But, first round stoppage, second round stoppage, first round stoppage, one decision, one fourth round fight. And at the end of the day, in all of those, she looked like she could go. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of those fights were at decent altitude, too. So, I'm gonna go with Caracate, though. Caracate is kind of the opposite in the sense that, she's playing the Pacheco, the Bunes, the Borjas role here, where she is a better technician with more limited physical talents. I think the difference with Caracate versus those gentlemen is that, one, the athletic gulfs at women's MMA are seemingly a little bit less, or a little more compact. But also, too, she's huge. She's 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. She is freakishly long for the weight class. And she's also quite well-rounded, which I think is something that those guys lack. She's a good striker. There's not enough power in there to really be a very, very good striker, but she's a good technical striker, a very good technical striker. She fights at a high pace. She's in great shape. She has good takedown. She has good takedown defense. So I've got to go with her. It's just it feels like this is kind of ruining Terrance's debut a little bit. I'm always against people with obvious actual solid features taking late notice replacement fights. Sometimes they over deliver. Alden Correa, against Alessandro Costa. But a lot of times, not really. And I just kind of feel like this is going to be one of those. So, Karakate by decision. She is minus 188 to minus 225, plus 152 to plus 163 to Taryn. Those are very respectable, very fun odds that you could bet either way. Eric Silva versus Francis Marshall. Eric Silva is everything I said about Javier Reyes. Copy and pasted here, except that he's 38 years old. Silva requires a large physical gap to actually beat people. It's not so much his durability, it's that he makes incredibly bad decisions as a grappler that is more his downfall. And Marshall's not a great fighter, not someone I expect to see in the UFC in 3-4 years' time, but he's good enough. He's got a decent enough striking game. He's got a good takedown game. He's got a good submission game. I assume he's going to get a submission here against Eric Silva. Worse people have done so. You get submitted by TJ Brown. I'm more than happy to take Francis Marshall to do the same. So Marshall is a minus 700, minus 800 favorite. He's the biggest favorite on the card. I don't know about that. I do not know about that. That being said, Silva is probably one of the worst fighters on the card in terms of UFC level caliber. He's plus 490 to plus 5. And then in the opener, Wes Schultz versus Damian Pinas. You gotta be careful with that one. Copy and paste everything I've said about a lot of the other gatekeeper fights. Pinas is a obviously high talented fighter in terms of athleticism. He's got good power. He's got good speed. He's aggressive. He's got decent like a little bit of combinations, or not a combination, creativity. That's the word I'm looking for. He's decently creative as well. Reasonably well schooled. He's 23 years old. He's gonna get better, I assume. But questions about him. Can he be taken down? How's the cardio really? Because he's been largely finishing people and very, very early. And this is, again, at altitude. By the way, late notice replacements at altitude is crazy. He's only been out of the first round twice. So I have questions. I have concerns. But Wes Schultz also has bad cardio and way lower physicality. That being said, I mean, honestly, if he had cardio, I would have more faith. It's just that he seems to be really tired after like the first round of fights. We're doing this at altitude. He's got cool submissions, and I have no doubt that he'll catch somebody, and it may even be in this fight. But I feel like I'm going to be picking him very, very little, just because he's Anthony Hernandez or Brendan Allen, that type of mold. Not exactly. Well, actually, Allen is damn close. He's those guys with bad cardio. And that feels like a really bad recipe for actual success in the UFC. So, Wes Schultz is... Hang on. I think I got these odds backwards. Let me consult the website here. I do. So, it's Pinosh by minus 250 to minus 270, plus 200 to plus 220. On Schultz. I have this backwards. Let me just fix that in my notes real quick, if you please. I wonder if I have those Douglas Silva Deondrage ones wrong. Hang on, is he the underdog? Nope, I have those right. Okay, so that was the only fight that I reversed the odds on. There we go. Anyways, TKO Pinosh against Wes Schultz. Should be kind of fun, should be kind of messy. Neither guy has a real way of controlling a fight except by raw aggression. So, there you go. Those are the picks. Hope you enjoy the card. It's not an interesting analytical card, but the action could be good, and we could see a lot of finishes. So if that's your thing, tune in, take a look. That being said, the quality of the Paramount era is already not great. Anyways, check out the links down below for social medias, video gaming stuff, the Fight Simulator Discord, and other places to consume this podcast. So there you go.